Life flows like water. Nothing lasts forever in the same form. Everything changes, from moments of happiness to deep sadness, from this body to the outside world. The Buddha pointed out that to find peace and enlightenment, we must understand the true nature of things. In his teachings, wisdom and enlightenment are not something far away, but are right in the way we perceive reality. Today, we will explore together profound principles such as impermanence, selflessness, and emptiness, truths that can change the way we live and see the world. Everything in life is constantly moving, changing, whether we realize it or not. A fresh green leaf will eventually wither. A passing wind, no matter how strong, will vanish into nothingness. Even the moments we wish to hold on to forever, joy, sadness, love, or loss, are just short waves in the endless flow of time. The Buddha called this anicca, the immutable law of the universe. Nothing stands still. Nothing stays the same forever. The more we cling to temporary things, the more we suffer when they change. But if we accept this truth, our hearts will become lighter, our minds will become more open. Impermanence is not something to be feared, but the natural nature of all things. If we understand this, we will no longer be afraid of change, but instead learn to cherish every moment, welcoming life with a calm mind. We often think that there is a separate, solid self, a self that does not change over time. But is that really so? If we look deeply into ourselves, we will see that everything from our thoughts, emotions to our bodies are constantly changing. The Buddha taught about anatta, that there is no fixed self within us. What we call I is just a collection of the 5 aggregates: form, body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. They are constantly changing, arising and ceasing, like streams of water that never stop flowing. When we realize this, we become less attached to what we think of as I. Names, pasts, or limited thoughts. We are no longer caught up in pride or inferiority, no longer suffer when hurt by a word. For if there is no fixed self, who is being hurt? Understanding selflessness is the first step to liberation. When we no longer cling to the illusory self, we open ourselves to the wider world, live with peace, and are no longer bound by the illusions we create. If impermanence teaches us that everything is always changing, and selflessness helps us see that there is no fixed self, then shunyata opens the final door, that all things have no self-existent nature. When we look at a flower, we may think that it exists independently, but in fact, that flower cannot exist without soil, water, sunlight, and air. It is just a combination of many elements, and when those elements disintegrate, the flower disappears. So does the flower really exist in the way we think it does? Similarly, everything in the world has no fixed nature. Everything is dependent origination. It exists because of countless other causes and conditions. When we cling to something as real or forever, we suffer when it changes or disappears. But if we see emptiness, we will no longer cling, no longer let illusions cloud our minds. Emptiness does not mean meaningless emptiness. On the contrary, it is precisely because things have no fixed nature that we can change, grow, and become enlightened. When we understand this, our minds become free. We are no longer bound by fears, worries, or unrealistic desires. Seeing emptiness is the key to liberation, because when we no longer cling to what is inherently unreal, we can live peacefully in this ever-changing world. Wisdom in Buddhism is not ordinary knowledge, but the insight into the true nature of all things. It is not just understanding through books or the teachings of others, but direct realization, that is, experiencing and realizing the truth for yourself. When we look at an object, a person, or a situation in life, we are often influenced by emotions, prejudices, and preconceived notions. We label a person as good or bad, a situation as fortunate or unfortunate. But all of these judgments are based on our limited perspective. Wisdom in Buddhism helps us see things as they are, unclouded by illusion or attachment. That wisdom comes from understanding three fundamental truths: impermanence, everything changes, nothing lasts forever; anatta, there is no fixed self. Everything is just a collection of dependently arisen elements; emptiness, everything has no self-existent nature, but is only the result of the convergence of causes and conditions. When wisdom is awakened, we are no longer bound by the suffering caused by attachment. We do not chase after the temporary happiness, nor are we overwhelmed by things that do not go as planned. We live with inner peace and freedom, no longer shaken by the fluctuations of life. Wisdom does not come from a mere reasoning or analysis. It is nurtured through meditation, contemplation, and practice in life. When we observe ourselves, recognize the delusions of the mind, and let go of unnecessary attachments, we are getting closer to true wisdom. And once that wisdom is awakened, we will see that suffering is just an illusion, and liberation has always been within our own hearts. Buddhist wisdom is not something far away, but a compass that helps us live peacefully in the midst of a turbulent life. When we understand and practice, we will have less worries and live more freely, looking at everything with an impermanent perspective. Everything changes: people, things, emotions, a broken relationship, a missed opportunity, a fleeting sadness. Everything will pass. When we understand impermanence, we no longer cling to or suffer because of things beyond our control, but learn to adapt and accept life as it is, letting go of the ego, living more tolerantly. Many sufferings come from overemphasizing the ego. When someone criticizes, we feel hurt. When others are more successful, we feel jealous. But if we understand that there is no fixed ego, we will be less picky, less competitive, and instead understand and get along with everyone. Living mindfully, staying away from worry. A mind caught up in delusions will always worry about the future or regret the past. But when living mindfully, we know how to appreciate the present moment. A deep breath, a mindful meal. These little things can also bring peace. Seeing the nature of happiness. Happiness does not come from money or fame, but from our own mind. When we understand the emptiness of all things, we no longer chase after endless desires. Happiness is not about having more, but knowing enough and letting go of unnecessary things. Buddhist wisdom helps us to be more at ease amidst the ups and downs of life. When we understand impermanence, let go of the ego, live mindfully and know contentment, we will realize that happiness is not far away. It is always within our hearts.